Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. Nicole and I are joined by Natalie Brooks, who is an amazing person. She's founder of Dyslexia in Adults and a global community for adults with dyslexia. So thank you so much for joining us, Natalie.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. And honestly, I would do anything for Hannah. She's fantastic.
Isn't she? Yeah, I would completely agree with you.
I would go as far as to say that I'm a super fan.
Oh, well, feeling is mutual. I have been stalking you on Instagram for months, and eventually I think before you even officially launched your membership publicly, I was like, how can I get involved? how can I get into what you're doing? Because it's so amazing. So Natalie, if you could just start, maybe you could just for those of you who don't know, you just let everyone know what it is exactly that you've created here and how you got started.
So I have a business called Dyslexia in Adults, which the concept is raising awareness and providing support to adults that have dyslexia. So it's a very well-served industry if you're in education or maybe in the workplace that you're wanting support with this kind of, if you're able to have that support, then there is a lot of people providing it. For kind of the rest of the kind of ways that dyslexia might impact you, maybe in your relationships or maybe your view of yourself or just kind of that general day-to-day life of dyslexia, then it can be really lonely and there's not really any resources out there. So I really tried to create something that essentially I wanted. And I started out on Instagram, just putting my thoughts out there into the world, just wondering whether or not people felt the same as me and whether or not I was crazy really for having these challenges with adult dyslexia still. And I was really lucky that it kind of caught on and people felt like I had something to say and that there was a space for this. And so I went about creating an online community, which is now what you're a part of, which basically is about providing a toolkit to navigate life with dyslexia.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Nicole, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I've heard so much about you, Natalie, from Hannah, and Hannah's always been so open with me about her experiences with dyslexia, and it's really reassuring when you know that there's a community out there for people who have those thoughts of do you feel the same way as me? And you do, and here's where we can support one another. So it's wonderful to hear and meet you.
I don't really do very well with compliments, which Hannah knows. So I'm trying to do some personal growth where I accept compliments and that I don't kind of bat them away because I'm a bit of a terror at that. I'm English, and so
plus you're British. Yeah,
I'm very British, and also it's a very dyslexic trait to be like, no, I'm not good at anything, I'm useless. But I now try and preach to people to not be like that. So now I have to be like that myself.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going don't you have to accept the compliments? And in my head I'm stop. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And to be honest, I feel like I have the best job in the world. So everyone kind of comes to me with all these amazing praise. No, you gave me the best life in the world. Thank you. That's how I feel about it.
So awesome. And so what I think is really, really cool about what you've done is you've basically grown a business using social media, using Instagram specifically.
Yeah.
So how did I know you started just putting your thoughts out there, but basically how did it move from creating Instagram content so you felt less alone to building a community that is now your business, that's what you do full time? What's the middle part? It's just, I think it's really interesting because of course what Nicole and I do is we help business owners with their marketing, and you're living proof that social media can go a long way to building a business.
I mean, I'm self-employed because of Instagram, and that is the truth. I hear so many people hating on social media, and I get it, and I kind of I listen and I understand what they're coming from, but I'm it changed my world forever, and I am so grateful to social media. I think I don't know if I would recommend my path, but it is something that is very accessible to people. So I have always taken the attitude with my business, and when we've worked together, of let's just give something a try. Let's just give it a go. Let's just figure something out. We're bootstrapping this. Let's just see what happens. So, I mean, I've actually left my really dodgy first posts up, because when I tell people about my story, I want them to be able to scroll back. I mean, it's 500 posts. It's a real commitment to the scroll. But if you go all the way back 2.5 years ago, there is some really bad content there. And it's just living proof that you just need to start. You just need to give it a go. You just need to put something embarrassing out there. My first reel is just awful. My first posts are bad. I didn't put my face on stories for over a year. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect on day one. And it will take longer if you do it the way I did it, which is what I personally wouldn't recommend, which is I didn't pay for marketing consultants until I was successful. And then I was like, oh, I'll pay for marketing now. And it's like, well, maybe if I'd have paid for marketing earlier, I could have been a lot further along, a lot sooner. But I think what I would really like people to take away from my story is just like, give it a go. Like, yes, it's embarrassing. Yes, your friends might see it, but they won't care 2.5 years later when you've got 10,000 followers and you're self-employed and you live in Morocco and you're having the life that they would dream of. My one tip to anyone who wants to get started is, do not let your friends and family follow you. Ban them. Be angry with them if they go anywhere near your account. If they try and support you, tell them to sod off, because they will be the number one reason you don't post. You'll be like, oh, but Susie from down the road will see me and it'll be embarrassing. Well, just tell Susie down the road to sod off, and then post and get going with your dreams, because you shouldn't let some random person that from 10 years ago stop you.
I love your brutal honesty. It just is it's refreshing, because everybody starts at some kind of beginning. And when you're saying how dodgy your first post was, it was just a month ago, I looked at my first post of my page and was like
me too. Cringe.
Yeah, I genuinely left it up there to be proud of the evolution. My first logo was shameful. It was all bad because I didn't know what I was doing. I worked in sales, I didn't have any experience on social media or marketing or dyslexia or anything. I just figured it all out myself. And I have got to where I've got to without paid marketing, without any help or advice, through just giving things a go and having a lot of determination. And I really promise anyone can do it if I can do it. I don't post on my personal account. I don't think I've up until about 3 months ago when I started traveling and I was like, yeah, sod everyone, look how great my life is. I don't think I posted for about 3 years. Wow. So, you don't have to be some genius on social media to make it work. You just need a really lot of hard work.
Yeah, I think that's also I was actually having this conversation with my brother the other day, who's also dyslexic, but he's considering becoming self-employed. So many of us dyslexics end up being is self-employed. And I was talking to him about social media marketing, because I can't not talk about social media marketing when someone talks about starting a business. And of course, he's a Gen Z, so he's used to social media from the social media, using it for social. And I said that the environment when you're marketing a business is completely different to the environment when you're just on there to post for the sake of posting. When you're doing there for social and showing people what you're doing, it's night and day almost. And I don't post on my personal profile. I haven't done it literally in years, but it's a completely different beast posting for.
Yeah, because I think what I try and explain to people is you need to take yourself out of the equation. Your perspective and thoughts are what makes you interesting, but they're not what matter. They're not, when you've got a personal account, it's yeah, I'm at a cool restaurant, yeah, I'm on holiday. It's like, no, like none of that matters. Like get that gone. It's like, what do my audience want to hear? What will help them? What will serve them? What will educate them? What will give them value? What will make them laugh? And you have to like completely flick your mind into who is that person? What are they looking for? And how can I help them? And it's a real mind shift that kind of you go through when you're doing like business marketing versus kind of just like having fun on social.
I would totally agree with you on that, because at the beginning of my business, I always heard that. And then I feel like I had this aha moment where it really just like it clicked in that I truly understood what that meant.
Do you know the best way I try and describe it to people whenever I'm giving advice on this topic is think about being on the loo. Like you're on the loo and you have 30 seconds and you're there, you know, you need 30 seconds for whatever. And you're thinking, oh, just go for a quick scroll. We all do it. We all scroll on the loo. We all text on the loo. And who do you go to? Like what account, what creator, what influencer, whatever you want to call them, do you go to and why? And, you know, maybe on the loo you want to be entertained. But so, you know, like what it is that person is doing that makes you go to them. Because I think that's what you've got to think about is like, that person on the loo has 30 seconds. They just want like a quick something. What are you going to do that makes them want to go to you in that 30 seconds, like versus any other creator out there in the world? And that's kind of that mentality of like, okay, I've got 30 seconds and how am I going to grab someone and make them go, I'm going to go to dyslexia in adults versus the British Dyslexia Association or versus this or versus that. Like, what is it that I'm going to give that is going to be valuable?
Yeah. Such great advice. Such great. And it's so true. I have like, there's profiles I look at when I have time and there's profiles I look at when I have that 30 seconds or more of loo time. And
yeah, I mean, you're a mum, so you probably don't even have the 30 seconds of loo time. You're like, 30 seconds on the loo?
Oh, yeah. This is a little known secret. When you become a parent, toilet time is precious.
Yeah. It really is. Lock.
You lock the door and you're like, I'm going to make this last 5 minutes if I can.
But yeah, I think that's the way you got to think about it is like, I try and help so many people with advice on social media and I like really give that advice a lot. I'm like, listen, you really need to think about it of like, why should someone bother following you or looking at your content or giving you the time of day? Like why should they bother? You are not the priority in the conversation. It's like, why should they bother? And once generally that's actually sinks in and they get it and they see it from that perspective, the content quality like goes up a lot. And it's not about like the design or the trending audio or the hashtags or anything like that. The people that think that that's what matters. It's just about what it is that you're talking about and the way you talk about it.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so Natalie, like you have a very interesting, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you come on, because you have a very interesting target audience. Nicole and I are always talking about knowing your ideal client, and you obviously, that's a big focus for you too, but you have such a unique ideal client because it's very specific in one sense. It's adults with dyslexia, but that can encompass such a wide range of peoples from all walks of life. How did you narrow down your ideal client when starting?
I have to admit that it's a real evolving conversation in my business, and it's something that I don't really feel 100% like got it, because in a way it is a niche because it's something that's not being served. It's something that's kind of specific and quite easy to understand. It fits a lot of the ways that you would think about what a niche is, but also it's so broad. Like adult, the word, I mean, you know, you could be a woman or a man, you could be rich, you could be poor, you could be old, you could be young, you could be, you know, have different ethnicities, different like culture, workplace situations. You could be a plumber or you could be a white collar worker. It's a lot. And because it's a niche that people so desperately want support with and they are crying out for help, I do get a lot of messages being like, you're not helping me, and like I need help. And it's like I'm a plumber, and you know, this is my, and I'm 16 and or whatever. And it's so hard to be like, okay, but I actually don't know anything about your life, and I don't really know anything about what your challenges are. And so can I really help you? Probably not. And it's a really difficult thing for me personally, because I'm so passionate about the topic area that I so desperately want to go like, yeah, you're right. Do you know what? I could get a guest expert with like, you know, some like blue collar workers, and we could talk about that and da, 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 da. And it's like, I'm one woman in a solo business owner, and I just unfortunately have to kind of have some kind of boundaries and say, you know what, I can really help this person and this experience. So the way I go about doing that is, so I try and think about myself a lot as the ideal client, and I try and kind of think about what did I want when I was not in a good place and what would have helped me. And so I put myself in the shoes a lot. There's obviously some challenges around that. I'm very privileged. I'm white. I'm female. Like I'm not a mother, for example. There's lots of elements that do make it difficult to kind of, when you just go, okay, I'm going to put myself as the ideal client. And so, as you can see, when I said at the beginning, it's something that's not fully fleshed out, and you can see this with my answer. I think what I try and think about when I think about serving the niche of like me 10 years ago is how can I kind of just give them that, oh my God, it's not just me moment. And that kind of really suits my content. So, you know, that's how I know what works. So that's kind of how I try and think about it. Like, it's quite often the way I think about content is I'll just be wandering around throughout the day, have a moment and think, oh, do you know what? I would have posted myself about that 5 years ago. And like, okay, someone else would be feeling the same. Like, let's make sure they don't feel like that anymore. You know, I go to the gym and then I go left into the right at a gym class. It's embarrassing. And then I just, post about that. So I think that's the way that I'm currently dealing with it. It's definitely an evolution that I'm kind of working on as the business kind of slightly comes into maturity.
You know, hearing you say all these things, my guess is that when people come across your account, they see how authentic you are, and your ability to empathize with other people and their situation, because you know what it's like. And I think that is what helps you to have so many followers, because people see a real person with real experiences who really know how people feel.
Yeah. I think also, oh, sorry, Nicole.
No, go ahead.
I think also answer that quickly. I think what it isn't easy to be real and be like honest. And, you know, sometimes you get asked a question, you go like, you know what, it's not there yet. It's not perfect. But I actually really think that is a lot of the reason of the success that I had. So I really appreciate you highlighting that, because I agree with that. I think that showing up and being like, yeah, do you know what? Some days dyslexia does suck. And sometimes I do still feel shitty about it. But I am feeling better most days than I do. And I think providing that realistic, I see a lot of people talk about when they're talking about selling online is that you don't need to be at stage 10 to sell a solution. Lots of people are at stage 2 and want to know how to get to stage 5. And if you're at stage 6, you can sell that bridge. And I don't see dyslexia as a superpower, which we would argue is stage 10, but I don't see it as making me less than. So maybe I am at 7 or 8 and I sell getting to 7 or 8. I don't try and be at 10. Because I'm not, and I think that I have a real belief that your vibe creates your tribe, and my vibe is brutal honesty, and so that has kind of like created my tribe. So I'm really proud of that aspect of the account and the work that I do.
Mm-hmm. That is totally in line with what Nicole and I do. In fact, before we released our podcast, we released our bloopers reel. Before we released our first like official promo, we released all the times we messed up, because we want people to see that you don't have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to be Steven Spielberg. it's
No.
it's you can just show up, and people are what's gonna resonate with people is your authenticity, and feeling like they're a real person's on the other end. And what I was gonna say to that, also with you and your challenges pinning down your ideal client, I think one of the key things that you did is you speak to the emotion and the problem less than a specific person. You're speaking to the feelings. And I think that's another reason your content really resonates, because it's very emotional. Like you're connecting with a wide range of people on a very emotional level. That I never thought of the emotional effects of my dyslexia until I started interacting with your content. I knew I was dyslexic, tell people about it, but I never realized there was an emotional element to it until interacting with your content. And I think that's pretty magical.
Yeah, and so for anyone that's listening to this and thinking, what are they talking about? Like, one of the examples I often give is, okay, if you're telling someone you're dyslexic and then you go, oh yes, I'm dyslexic, and so like I've got brain a bit of like a sieve, and like so I really need you to email me like all the instructions if you ever send them over. That's fine. You need someone to email you the instructions, not the end of the world, not really that big a deal. But you led entirely with the fact that it's a bad thing. And so why should anyone else think anything other than it's a bad thing? Because that's what you did. You put it forward as a bad thing. And that comes from a place deep down that you think you're less than. Whereas there's another way of saying that, being like, I just want to let you know I'm dyslexic, and that comes with some challenges, but also some benefits. One thing that really helps me is if you're able to email over the instructions, if ever you provide them, it just makes sure that I really do the best work that I can do, because that's really important to me. Same topic, same information, but you feel a lot more confident in employee number 2 than you do in employee number 1. And that's one of the things I really try and talk about is you don't need money to approach things correctly and to like give things like a kind of like an air of like, you've got this, you know, even if you don't, like, fake it till you make it is kind of what I try and sell. And so, yeah, I think that that's kind of what I try and promote to people, is coming with this energy only gets you like negativity. Coming with like, I'm great and you are damn lucky to be employing me, gets you a whole different set of circumstances.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just the whole idea of empowering someone rather than them feeling like they're less than, or that it's a weakness. You know, like when people feel empowered, they feel more confident. They feel like, like you said, like they've got this. So
exactly.
I love that.
And like I said, I'm not trying to sell 10. I'm not trying to say dyslexia is a superpower. I would be bowled over like the happiest woman in life if someone said to me, do you know what, dyslexia is just a difference, has good and bad. I'd be like, yes, you're so right. You know, I like that. That's it. That would be a huge leap if people felt like that. I would be like giving myself a good day's work, Natalie. So yeah, I think that, you know, that's a realistic position that I'm trying to sell.
It's wonderful. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us, especially because if you don't know already, this week is Neurodiversity Celebration Week, which was one of the reasons I was so excited to have you come live with Nicole and I. Would you, for everyone watching, let them know how they can become a member of Dyslexia in Adults, or start following your content?
Yeah, sure. So there's Dyslexia in Adults is across a couple of platforms. So LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. So whatever your situation is, there's content coming out on those 3. And I'd love to have you and see if I can give you some advice and support on dyslexia and how to navigate it as an adult.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Nicole, why don't you tell our listeners, we've got something a little special going on this week as well.
Yeah, so we have a special called Try Before You Buy. So, you know, if you're feeling like you've been watching Showing Up Solo, you want to join the membership, but you're a little unsure, we have this opportunity where you can register for one of our guest master classes for free. So you have 1 week to try this out, and we have the wonderful Jane Carter joining us tomorrow. So we'll make sure to include the registration link in the comments.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that we include link to Natalie's website as well. And just thank you again for being alive.
Well, the feeling is entirely mutual. It's entirely mutual.
I feel like, Natalie, we need to get you in the membership somehow, because you have this energy about yourself that I think more people need to see and witness. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, and I know you hate compliments, but
yeah, I mean, like I said,
and
you accept it.
Yeah, she asks and I will do it. So yeah, whatever I can do to help with the membership, I'd love to be involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you again soon.